Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode here on the DEANO Show, July 30th, 2026. Great to be back with you all for this week's episode. Excited to be back. Love doing these. Got some more questions from you guys, and if you didn't know, before each show I write down, the show topics, just some talking points. Handwritten over typing. Handwriting just makes it feel more authentic, makes it feel more real, and I collect all these. Or at least I started collecting all these, all my pre-show notes and what I want to talk about, questions from you guys. So hopefully one day it'll be cool to look back and when the year is 2035 and I'm however old, 32 years old, and look at the DEANO Show and July 30th, 2026 and see how far it's came from 10 years from now. But yeah, something about handwriting things. I know we've all gotten so advanced technology, but there's nothing better than handwriting down everything. It makes it feel more real, more authentic. Maybe that's just a me thing, but it's also better for your memory. When you're writing it down, it gets into your brain. You remember it better than you do when you are typing. But typing is more efficient. But in this case, I like handwriting, and it's a lot of fun to do. Also, standing up for this episode, my desk is a one that goes up and down. I can lower it and raise it. And all my episodes that I've done in the past, I've always sat down, but I do work sometimes standing up, and I was like, sure, I'll give podcasting stand up a try, and I like it because I'm kind of on my feet. Hopefully I'm not moving too much. Maybe I start moving a lot subconsciously, but if I do move a lot throughout this episode, I apologize. It's just me talking and me moving a lot. So let's just get in front of that to begin the show. But our first topic of the day, which is pretty old news at this point, you guys have probably already all seen this, but LeBron James is joining the Philadelphia 76ers for this upcoming season. Definitely not a city or a team I thought LeBron would really join. And quite frankly, I thought he'd go back to Cleveland or thought he'd go back to Miami. Or heck, even at this point, hang him up. But he signed a 2-year deal worth $8 million. I'm pretty sure that's the league minimum, maybe even less than the league minimum. Obviously, money's not a factor for him. He's a billionaire at this point. He's made so much money from being in the NBA and contracts and that, but also just advertisements and all that stuff that comes with being a professional athlete. But when I first heard about that he was going to the 76ers, my first reaction was, how is this similar to KD when he first joined the Warriors? And if you go back when KD first joined the Warriors were already a dynasty. They had already had the chemistry. They were already, Clay and Steph were pretty much at the peak of their career. Draymond, they were already so good. And so you knew when they added a player like KD, it was automatic they were going to get a ring. There was just no stopping them. Bringing in a top 3 player in the world, if not number 1 player in the world at that time, you knew that their chemistry wouldn't get broken. It would only just make them 10 times better than they actually already were. Here, in this case with LeBron going to the 76ers, I would honestly be more surprised if they did win a championship versus not winning one at all. 76ers have been competitive over the last couple of years, I'll give them that. And especially Embiid's always hurt, so it's really kind of running through players like Kelly Oubre, VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey. And so you can make the case that now that they've added Jaylen Brown and LeBron, and then hopefully Embiid stays healthy, they have a championship roster. There's no doubt about that they definitely do have a championship roster. For me, it just comes down to chemistry, playing team basketball versus playing ego ball. I think those are the 2 biggest ones and biggest challenges they'll face. When you're looking at that roster top to bottom, you're like, yeah, they could definitely win a championship. Who is stopping them? But for me, I think it just comes down to chemistry and playing team basketball. Partially because a lot of it is ego basketball. That's why I think college basketball is 10 times better, because they're actually playing team basketball. They move the ball. There's not many egos and, give me the ball. I'm the best player in the world. I get all the media attention. There's not as much as that in college as it is in the NBA. It'll be interesting to see, who knows? Maybe they do win a ring. Again, saying right now, gun to my head, if they win a ring, I'm going to go with no. I don't think they will. And now, I don't know if this is actually true or not, or where this really came from, but LeBron might live in Manhattan and commute to practice via helicopter every single day. That's as performative as it gets. I mean, you're going to take a helicopter to practice every single day. I know J.J. Redick did that when he was on the Sixers, but that was towards the tail end of his career. He was raising a family, and I guess it was just more convenient for him. I did a little research on that, but he lived somewhere in Brooklyn. Easier for his family to have a house there, and raising kids, I think, was the biggest thing. So, okay, that's more understandable. And he also drove. He drove 90 minutes there and back each way. Well, not himself drove. He probably had someone drive him. But LeBron James is taking a helicopter from Manhattan to Philly day in and day out. How are you ever going to build chemistry around that? Like, hey, LeBron, oh yeah, I'm 15 minutes en route. I'm on the chopper right now. I'll land it on the helipad in a couple minutes. Like, what are we doing here? So I don't know if that's actually true or not. I don't know where it came from, but I know there was talks about that in the media, and like that was like actually going to be a thing. So who actually knows whether or not that's going to happen or not? But that'd be pretty crazy, and I don't think he will do it. I mean, that is just out of this world if he does it. But yeah, so. And while we are on the topic of sports, MLB trade deadline coming up this week or within the next 10 days or so. Usually I'm in Nantucket at this time, and it's like the best time of the year because, you know, you're at the beach and then you get home from the beach, or even if you're at the beach, you're getting breaking news, your players are getting traded, your team is acquiring new players. It's like the best time of the year. I mean, really all sports deadlines are fun, especially if your team is competitive and they're in the hunt. You know, they're going to try to buy someone or get someone good. But at this point in time, Mets season is pretty much a wrap. That's pretty clear. Just terrible season. We're going to have to do a lot of rebuilding. We are definitely what you call sellers at this deadline. A lot of players are probably going to be gone. Some players who I know, or not know, but in my eyes who would not be gone are Benj, Ewing, Soto, Scott, McLean. Those are about 5 players right now. Probably not Lindor. I know there's been a lot of speculation of whether or not Lindor is going to get traded. Who knows? I know that he has been, when you look at the Mets past and the clubhouse issues and the team chemistry overall, a lot of it has been pointed at Lindor. The whole Jeff McNeil and Lindor, raccoon in the tunnel, but they were really fighting. Nimmo and Alonso were with Lindor. And now we're saying for this year, there's some Soto and Lindor beef, or, you know, who really knows in all these situations and whether or not they get along behind the scenes. It's total speculation and none of it's for certain. Besides the whole McNeil and Lindor, like that's for certain they did not get along. But in terms of Soto, Lindor, and Alonso, Nimmo, it's more diluted and it's hard to really form an opinion on it. It's all just speculation. So I don't actually know what it's going on behind the scenes. I mean, none of us casual fans do. So if he got traded, I'd be pretty shocked if he did, especially if he went to the Yankees. That would be pretty crazy. You know, there's a bunch of teams right now who are in the hunt, but I think the Mets for sure were selling pretty much everything. And my favorite Met, Tyrone Taylor. I just love his game. Doesn't hit a lot of home runs, isn't a big stat guy, but he's just a hustler, great center fielder, has a good arm, runs the bases well, can steal bases, gets a clutch hit every now and then, is a team player, relatively quiet on the guy. He's just a great player. And if I see him go, which he probably will because this past couple weeks he has just been raging red hot and is just base hit after home run, clutch hit after clutch hit. So he's probably going to be gone, which sucks because I like him a lot and he has been a great Met. But in terms of all of our other guys, I mean, Vientos is hurt, who I really don't like and I would like to see off the Mets. So I don't know if you're going to be able to get much stock off of him. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Mets do. Yeah, I was already seeing some things today that the Dodgers were looking to acquire Tarek Skubal. That'd be pretty crazy. Pay to win essentially is what the MLB has gotten to, and the Mets tried to do it, and they've completely failed. I mean, it's, kind of crazy that a lot of these owners and a lot of these big market teams are just spending money, and it's turned into more money than it has team baseball in a way, which is kind of unfortunate, but just with the nature of the game and how much money these players want and think they deserve, when you have owners like Steve Cohen who have billions of dollars, it's like, yeah, we're going to pay for this guy. And unfortunately, which is why they added in the luxury tax to the MLB, for the small market teams, they can't afford to get a player like Ohtani or a player like Soto. I mean, you look at the not Oakland, but the Athletics or like the Tampa Bay Rays or a lot of these lower market teams, they can't afford a $500 million contract with someone. So there is a high percentage that there is an MLB lockout next year. We do not have an MLB season. That is definitely in the cards. I can see that happening. It'd suck. I'd really hope not. That wouldn't happen because baseball, that would be terrible. Because if there was an actual MLB lockout, and at this time next year, we would literally have zero sports on. Nothing to watch. All we have right now is baseball. That's kind of saving us. So if there's a lockout, there's going to be nothing going on in this time next year. But yeah, the trade deadline is so much fun, and I always would want to be a fly on the wall in those managerial rooms where the GM is talking with the other teams and negotiating deals and who's sending who where. And the calculations that go behind all those deals is just so cool. And it'd be so cool to be a fly on the wall with all the whiteboards and all like the plans for if this team takes this person, if we get this person, we're going to do this. Huge puzzle that I would just love to be a fly on the wall and just observe the conversation, the chatter that goes on behind the scenes, because totally really cool. But yep, Mets are selling, and that is what it is. Not our year. Not our year. All right, so for the next topic of the day, I wanted to talk to you guys about fear and understanding fear, and that really all fear is psychological. And I posted an Instagram story about this earlier today, but I said if you're able to control your mind, control your thoughts, control your emotions, your whole world opens up for you. And I had this huge, this massive light bulb flash went off in my brain a couple days ago. I was reading this book about understanding your thoughts, controlling your mind, and all that type of stuff. And it said, understand that you have control over your thoughts, or understand that you have control over your mind. And I was like, oh my God, like the last 5 years, I have felt like I have zero control over my mind. Like I had just been listening to whatever it is it was telling me. But why? Why? I don't have to. All my mind wants me to do is keep me from failing, keep me from facing the uncertainty, or keep me from really succeeding. It just wants you to be comfortable. It doesn't want your ego to get damaged. That's why whenever you have an idea to do something, your mind comes up with thousands of ideas as to why you shouldn't do it. Because your sole purpose of your ego is to keep you exactly where you are. Your mind likes the suffering. It likes keeping you exactly where you are. And I have been listening to all those thoughts that come from the ego and that come from the mind. And once you understand that those thoughts have no weight on your life whatsoever, and that you don't actually have to listen to them, it's like your world just completely opens up. And it sounds so little, and it sounds like, oh yeah, I don't live my life in fear. But then you actually reflect and write down all the times that you didn't do something because of you thought you were going to be laughed at, or you thought you were going to be made fun of. And it's like, if I had just ignored that and just did it, I would have had another great experience or table experience, and you just learn from it. So understand that the sole purpose of your mind is to keep you comfortable and to keep you exactly where you are and not get out of the comfort zone. That's why whenever you're facing a big decision, it's nervous, you're anxious, you're worried about what's going to happen because your brain doesn't have control. Whenever your brain loses control is whenever you get most anxious. So if you can understand that and understand when those thoughts come in, is like, oh, there's my monkey brain again. Not going to listen to that. Over time, it just won't appear anymore, and you'll live with no fear. Because really, fear is all psychological. Even if you do die, okay, you die and you're no longer here. So definitely understand how to control your mind, be able to differentiate a good thought from a monkey brain thought, and understand that you have control over your mind, and you don't actually have to listen to all the things your mind tell you you shouldn't do. You actually should do everything you want to do, and not what your mind tells you not to do. And it was just this crazy. I was driving and I was like, oh my God, I don't actually have to listen to my mind. Fuck my mind. I'm actually going to go do what I want to do. I actually am going to post the video. I actually am going to be someone who is actually trying. Because if that's the thing about procrastination and just kind of half-assing something. When your brain tells you, oh, well, if you actually did try, you would have succeeded. It's just protecting you from the idea that what if your best wasn't enough? Or what if you gave it your all and it didn't work out? It's all just a protection scheme and going on inside your brain. Just learn how to break through the protection scheme that happens in between the ears, and your whole world will open up for you guys. Fear is all psychological. It is all psychological. All right, so now we'll get into the questions I got from you guys for today's episode. But the first one coming from Shin and Bones. Shin and Bones, good question. Good to hear from you. We got, who are your biggest role models? So I got a couple, but the first that come to mind, mom and dad, for sure. They've shaped me to be the man I am today. And without them, I would not be standing here right now. I would not be doing the DEANO show. Forever in debt to them. They've taught me what it means to be a good man, what it means to have respect, what it means to just be a good young man. And without them, I don't know where I would be. So they're number one. And then I got a couple others, but Rick Rubin and Marcus Aurelius If you don't know Rick Rubin, but Rick Rubin's a huge music producer out in LA, has been in the music game forever, very, very successful. And I encourage you, if you've never heard of him, to do a little research on the guy, because he is literally a gas station for your soul. Just when you need some inspiration, you need some light, go to Rick Rubin, watch him Rick Rubin. He'll give you a nice half-gallon tank, and you're back to square one, right where you were. He's a very interesting person just in the way he approaches life. I would say he approaches life with zero ego. He is very creative. Being a creative myself, he inspires me to create just for the sake of creating. Something he emphasizes so heavily on is really not caring about the outcome, whether it's music or art or really anything in general. I think that's really good advice because, so many people nowadays, especially in the content space, just post for the sake of going viral and just post for the sake of getting the attention and getting the views. And when you do that, you're kind of in some way forever a slave to the outside world because you're not really being your creative self. You're just creating based on what people want you to create. And the way I've approached the DEANO show, the way that I'm really approaching content in general is just doing it out of the love of the game. Doing it and not caring about what happens after I hit post, how many likes it gets, how many views it gets. Because when you start getting into the numbers, start getting into the analytics and why something isn't working, you're going to eventually lose your mind, because at the end of the day, we don't know why something is really good, why something catches fire in terms of the creative world. And honestly, the best art, whether it's a podcast or someone is a painter, is the art where they did it for themselves and nobody else. Because when you start, like I said, when you start making art for other people, you're now using their influence on how you should do your work. Versus if you just do your work, and if it resonates with people, hopefully it does, that is what creates an actual authentic audience. When you're being yourself, doing it for the sheer purpose of impressing yourself. Because if you just approach creativity or approach art in general as a way to make money or as a way to impress people, then you just have it all twisted. The whole point of being creative is being creative without any restrictions, without any rules, and just doing what feels right to you. And if more people did that, then I think the world would benefit from a lot of it, because so much of art and so much of why people get into art or creating content in the first place is for the sole purpose of making money, which is why a lot of content nowadays isn't very good, and a lot of it's just clip farming, and a lot of it's just people acting like fools to get views and to get likes. And that's why we're kind of in a terrible time to make content, in my opinion, because none of it's authentic, none of it's real. I mean, some of it is, but the mainstream, a lot of the content isn't real. It's all for the money's sake, or it's all for the views or the attention you get from it. But the best art is the art that's created for themselves. It's also 10 times harder to build an audience on something that's solely done for you. And it takes a lot of patience. But when it does eventually click, it's 10 times better the result. Because it wasn't about anyone else in the first place. It was only for you. And that's how you create a genuine audience, when you're doing it for the sole purpose of you. So he's really inspiring. He's, a crazy mind. He's huge on meditation, huge on just letting go and just experiencing the world. If you haven't watched, or if you have Apple TV, I would definitely recommend checking out Shangri-La, the documentary about Rick Rubin. But yeah, he's on my Mount Rushmore for podcast guests someday, or just collaboration in general. He's on the Mount Rushmore there for sure. I actually read his book, A Creative Way of Being. Great book. So yeah, Rick Rubin. And then Marcus Aurelius, another book I read, Meditations. The way he approaches life, which his book is pretty much solely his journal, and they were pretty much just thoughts and reminders he would write himself throughout his life. And so many of them are so applicable to today's day and age. And I read them and I'm like, holy shit, that is just so true. I'll pull up a couple examples of my favorite quotes from him. And it is, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And this goes back to dealing with your mind. You can understand that you have power over your mind. And if you want to believe all the ego thoughts or all those monkey brain thoughts, then your life's going to suck. But if you look at those thoughts at face value and realize they're just there to keep you comfortable, that there's no meaning in those thoughts, and break through on the other side, your whole world opens up. But yeah, he is just an incredible man. And this was a person who was the head of the world at one point with the Roman Empire. And he is literally reminding himself day in and day out that he is nothing. He used to own a slave, and when he had a slave, he would have the slave tell him, "You are just a man. You are just a man." Because that's all we are. We are all human beings. And he emphasizes so much on the fact that you're just going to die and control what you can control. Live in the moment. Forget about anything external. Focus on what you can do. Do the best at doing you. And, I try to model my life around his teachings, his beliefs, what he stands for, because, I think he is just a brilliant mind. And if he was saying these things 2,000 years ago and they make total sense today, he's clearly onto something. And I was actually thinking about this, but I just am so fascinated about how long ago Marcus Aurelius lived, yet all of his teachings are all incredibly valuable and make the most sense 2,000 years later. Definitely recommend reading his book, Meditations. It's a great book. But those are probably some of my biggest role models. I've got more I could talk about. Chris Williamson, Alex Hormozy. I mean, there's a bunch of people who I look up to and, try to live like them in some ways and learn from their teachings, for sure. A lot of brilliant minds out there. And the other question I got from B. Gams, the CEO B. Gams, good to hear from you. Traveling solo, and what is your number one takeaway from traveling solo? I think solo traveling is some of the best things you really can do for yourself in so many ways. First way being, it forces you to confront parts of yourself you may not want to confront. When you're alone in an airport with your thoughts at 3 a.m, you're going to have thoughts come up. You're going to have to face things about you that you may not want to face. It's almost like a therapy retreat in a way, but it's just you and your thoughts. And I think that was a really big thing for me, especially when I went to Bali. When I first landed in Bali, I was like, holy shit, I am across the world right now. Like, this is scary. What if I get hurt? Like, I'm 2,000 or 2,500 miles away from home. Can I do this right now? Like, how am I going to do this? And it just forces you to grow and to learn and to live and to put yourself out there and to fully submerge yourself into other people's cultures. That's like the best thing I love about solo traveling is, one, you're on your own schedule, and two, it forces you to go outside of your comfort zone. When I first, like I said, when I landed in Bali, I knew I had plans as to what I was going to do, but I didn't know the people. I didn't know the food. I didn't know the religion. I didn't know the culture. I didn't know how they acted. I didn't know any of those things. But as I got there, my first driver, I tried to be friendly with him, and he was friendly back, and they were so welcoming. And I look at Bali as a place that I definitely want to go back to someday. So stay tuned for going back there. Truly, and out of all the countries I've been to in Europe and in the world, Bali was the place where the people were the most friendly and the most welcoming. Those people changed my life. It made me realize, like, who am I? Like, I'm just a kid. Like, I'm literally just a person. And their way of life versus my way of life is just completely different. Hustle culture over here, get a job, work. Over there, it's, I'm fishing for my meal today, and I'm going to sit on the beach for 6 hours. I'm going to do a couple tours. I'm going to surf in the morning. It's just way more relaxed and way more chill, and there's not as much, like, hustle culture drive, make it in life. It's just so, like, relaxing and easy. It's on, like, easy mode, essentially. Not to say it doesn't exist out there like we have over here, but it just shifted my perspective totally of, like, we live on the same planet, yet we're living two completely different lives. Forget about the geographical standpoint for a second. Like, just everything was so different to me. Nothing I'd really ever experienced before. And they welcomed me with the most open arms possible and showed me their religion, showed me their food, showed me their culture, made me feel welcome there, and I'll never forget that. And it truly changed me as a person. And I think that's just the best thing you can do for solo traveling is when you go somewhere, if you are going to travel solo, is to get there and just fully submerge yourself in whatever or wherever you are, and do everything, talk to everyone, ask a ton of questions. And yeah, it just taught me, how to live with myself alone, how to face the parts about myself I don't want to face. But yeah, it's so much fun, and it's freeing, and it's just great. I think solo traveling is the best thing you ever could do for yourself. So if you're questioning, or if anyone listening to this wants to go and solo travel somewhere, Southeast Asia, great place to do it. It's just expensive to get over there, but once you're there, it's pretty cheap. And yeah, I definitely recommend solo traveling. You definitely grow, you mature, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. But solo travel for sure. So that was the last question I got from you guys today in this episode of the DEANO Show. As always, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. I want to get to 200 subscribers someday soon, so hit that subscribe button if you are not subscribed, and I will see you guys in next week's episode. Peace out.